right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever it is that you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of Political News Time, coming at you from the PNT Live Network. I hope all of you are having a great day. I am your hostess, Alex Mayers, and tonight is going to be a very interesting podcast because it legitimately is going to straddle the fence or be in that little tricky shade of gray between the world of politics and the adult entertainment industry. Someone brought to my attention a rather interesting thread on social media last night between an adult industry attorney known as Michael Fattorosi and the current president of the adult union. Actually, that union is no longer recognized by its mother union, the International Adult Entertainers Union. I think that's what it is. But I do warn many of you in regards to joining that union because its legitimacy is, it's on the fence. Their attorney, this guy Felton, he worked directly with an escort agency known as the Luxury Companion, which we all know got dinged for sex trafficking. So, you know, that union, I wouldn't deal with it. But anyway, Michael Fattorosi brought up a very important point when it comes to all sex workers and who they're going to vote for when it comes to this upcoming election. I'm not talking about the union. I'm talking about the presidential election, whether you're going to vote Republican or Democrat, because he brought up that even though Kamala Harris, as of current, is claiming that she wants to decriminalize sex work, the fact of the matter is that she has a long-standing track record of being very destructive to the adult entertainment industry, sex workers particularly. And it seems that Alana Evans, the president of the union, and the union itself are backing Biden and Kamala Harris. And it doesn't seem like they've been very vocal about their political stance. It doesn't seem like they've announced that to the individuals that they're claiming to represent. And that seemed to be something that Michael Fattorosi, aka Porn Law, was trying to bring to people's attention. And, you know, I do want to make it known that over the years, I have had an issue with Michael Fattorosi, but that's water under the bridge because sometimes enough time goes by and you evolve as a person to where you just look back at the past and you think to yourself, you know what, I see exactly why certain things happened as they did, worked out for the best for me. Things just are as they are. And though there were certain actions that Fattorosi took in the past that I find questionable and that I will never completely agree with and that I do not support, at the same time, he has been there for the people that he claims to represent. He seems to have good intention when it comes to trying to help the people that he represents. And sometimes things are just water under the bridge. And I do want to make it known that I am not in communication with Michael Fattorosi. I think I even have him blocked on Twitter. I do not speak to him. Nothing. But he's right when it comes to this particular situation. So just give me a moment while I bring up the tweets. All right. This was a conversation that took place August 16th, yesterday. One of his tweets said, if the union is backing Biden or Harris, you should let the sex workers who follow you know that. He was saying that directly to Alana Evans. Let's see. Kamala Harris's FOSTA legislation pushed sex workers to the brink. Many were forced back onto the streets. Many were forced into the hands of pimps. It did nothing to stop trafficking. It may actually have increased it. Kamala Harris is a proven enemy of sex workers. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both want to gut CDA 230, the First Amendment of the Internet. And if they do, you might not have those platforms to rely on anymore. Platforms use adult traffic to grow and then kick off sex workers. Patreon, Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter may easily be next. So, when it comes to the legislation surrounding sex work, porn law, he's like on the cusp of it. He's on the, forefront. He actually helps to create some of these laws, most likely. He actually also brought up the fact that the union's lawyer is this guy, Felton, who, again, he was directly in cahoots with the luxury companion. And I mean, when I found out that union was utilizing him as a lawyer, and the reason I found out, you want to know how I found out? He sent me a letter to try to shut me up. Yes, he did. And when I repost this podcast and I edit it, I'm going to include that letter. He tried to silence my freedom of speech because Alana Evans didn't like that I was criticizing the union. Can you believe that shit? Anyway, let me read this article now from rollingstone.com that Porn Law posted on his Twitter account. It's titled, "Why Sex Workers Are Wary of Kamala Harris." Though she claims to support decriminalization, Joe Biden's vice presidential pick has a regressive record when it comes to sex worker rights. And this was an article written by E.J. Dixon. She did a very good job on this article, by the way. In many ways, Joe Biden's selection of Kamala Harris as his vice president is historic. She is the first woman of color on a major party ticket, as well as the first female vice presidential Democratic pick in more than 3 decades. But let's note that Kamala Harris appears to be transracial because she was sworn into the Senate as being an Indian American, but now all of a sudden she's a Black American. Be consistent, pick a race. Be it one race or claiming to be multiracial, but don't just transform into what you want to be to suit your agenda. That is something that makes me actually not trust Kamala Harris one bit, even though I have left the adult entertainment industry. Yet many on the left were not overly pleased with the pick, pointing to Harris's somewhat regressive record when she was district attorney of San Francisco and attorney general of California. Among these critics were sex workers' rights advocates who have been vocal about Harris's historically aggressive approach to policing the community and her perceived flip-flops on decriminalization. I also want to add that Alana Evans posted a tweet something along the lines of, Biden and Harris are bad, but if Trump is reelected, we're all dead. That's BS. From my perspective, someone who is over a decade-long adult entertainment industry blogger and historian, I don't think that the adult entertainment industry has thrived to the degree that it has in years. I think that the Trump administration was actually incredibly good for the adult entertainment industry. I think that there was a lot of growth that took place under the Trump administration. Just look at how many platforms have popped up, how so many adult entertainers have had the opportunities to go from being under someone's thumb to becoming independent. Also, look at how sex work has been so mainstreamed and normalized due to the Trump administration, at least from my perspective, going relatively easy on Stormy Daniels. I think that the only 2 people who might be quote unquote dead if Trump is reelected in actuality might be Stormy and Alana, because look, I'll tell you, I really don't think that Alana was telling the truth in regards to what happened that night up in Lake Tahoe, because from my perspective, Trump would not have wanted to party with Alana Evans considering her track record of doing so much IR porn. I'm sorry, but we all know how bigoted and prejudiced white men who see sex workers can be when it comes to the white girls who do IR. Just saying. From her 6 days as district attorney, Harris has had a reputation as an antagonist of sex workers. In 2008, she was a vocal opponent of Prop K, a ballot measure intended to decriminalize prostitution in San Francisco. She referred to Prop K as, quote, completely ridiculous, end quote, arguing that it rolled out, quote, a welcome mat for pimps and prostitutes to come into San Francisco. Okay, so she didn't want any pimps and prostitutes to come into San Francisco. So I guess if you are anti-porn, then Kamala Harris is for you. But if you are pro-porn, because you gotta look at what the porn industry in actuality is, then Kamala Harris is not. You, basically, if you're a sex worker and you don't vote Trump, you are not very smart. As Attorney General, Harris was also active in leading the charge against Backpage.com, a website that hosted classified ads and was used by many escorts, and according to sex workers, a platform that was used as a resource for vetting clients and keeping themselves safe. In 2016, she filed numerous charges against the owners of the site, including money laundering, pimping, and conspiracy to commit pimping. Her argument was that it was a hub for sex trafficking, with some of the victims being children, even though the site was far more often used by escorts doing consensual sex work. Quote, predominantly women, Black women, were on that platform trying to make money to support themselves, says M.F. Aquinos, founder and executive director of the Black Sex Worker Collective. I never heard of this collective, but okay. Dr. Jill McCracken, co-director of SWAP, Behind Bars, a sex worker advocacy group, acknowledges there was some exploitation on Backpage, but the majority of those selling sex on the platform were adults doing so consensually. When you shut down a space where people can communicate, you shut down all kinds of things, she says. Woo! And if you want to read this article for yourself, you can do so on Rolling Stone. I'll put the link in the description of this podcast when I upload it later. But this is interesting, isn't it? So you got Alana Evans supporting Kamala Harris, who led to the shutdown of Backpage. And Backpage essentially facilitated what I would say would be independent sex workers, right? But then you got Alana Evans utilizing the legal services of the attorney for the luxury companion, which was just charged with sex trafficking. And then you got Alana Evans working directly with an entity known as Kelly Roberts, aka Miss Kelly, who did the marketing for the luxury companion and has helped to design some sort of a weird program that is supposed to be a training program for sex workers. It's almost like the union, APAG, which is currently no longer even a government recognized union due to Felicia Ann's efforts, trying to position itself to where maybe, and I'm just theorizing here, there's some sort of a secret gateway into safely doing independent yet illegal sex work. But the only way you can access that is through APAG and all these connections that used to be attached to the luxury companion, Felton, Kelly Roberts. Something funny is going on there. Something very funny is going on there. But I want to conclude by stating that I did note that Michael Fattorosi brought up that there's an election for this union coming up. And he's like, well, hey, you know, are you posting the dates of these meetings and the elections? I guess as a friendly reminder to Alana Evans that she does need to be a bit more vocal and a bit more transparent in regards to, you know, how to become a nominee for different positions, different roles within that union, because if that union is going to continue in a ethical, responsible way to where its leadership adequately represents who they claim to represent, sex workers, porn stars, cam models, whatever, they probably need to have a leader who is going to be someone who's against quite a bit of what Kamala Harris has historically supported. So those of you out there in the adult entertainment industry, if you have political aspirations, look into what it takes to become a union leader, to take one of these roles of leadership within that union. I'll tell you who I think should run for president of that union, and it's going to shock a lot of you what I'm about to say, but I've thought about this. I've thought about it long and hard. I think Vanessa Blue should. Yep. For many years, I have taken issue with Vanessa Blue for certain reasons, but like I said, I've shifted. There's a lot of things that are under the bridge and just in the past when it comes to me. Vanessa Blue, I think, would be perfect to lead that union if that's something that she's interested in doing, because she presents well. She has a beautiful speaking voice. Very intelligent woman, naturally has leadership qualities. I think is either the wife or the girlfriend of who? Michael Fattorosi. For many years, I questioned a little something that Vanessa Blue said to me when I met her, when I shot for her website many years ago. At the time, and for many years after, I didn't understand why she said to me what she said, but maybe it took me turning 41, because I sure as hell understand what she said to me now. And she was correct. She was correct. So if that's something that she's interested in doing, I hope that she does it. She would be a very effective leader within the adult entertainment industry. She's a solid black woman. She has the know-how, she has the background, she has the connections. And truth be told, she would put Alana Evans to shame. Hell, she would put Michelle LeBlanc to shame. She put a lot of people to shame. So anyway, that's about it for tonight's podcast of Political News Time. Thanks everyone for watching.